After a long month of waiting, Boruto chapter 53 is here, bringing about the conclusion of the fight with Isshiki Otsutsuki. Up until now, things have looked at least somewhat under control with Sasuke and Naruto on the battlefield, but the true form of Isshiki proved to be far stronger than any form of Jigen they had seen before. After knocking both Boruto and Sasuke out cold, Isshiki makes his way to Naruto for a final clash in order to infiltrate the village and retrieve Kawaki. The goal to implant him with another karma seal since Isshiki only has a little longer to live after being drawn out of Jigen's host body. Naruto and Isshiki engage one-on-one, and at first it seems pretty even. However, Isshiki being in his true form and no longer restricted by human limitations was far more durable and powerful than Naruto had expected in the long run. In order to save everyone, or at the very least stall Isshiki long enough so he dies before he gets to Kawaki, Naruto and Kurama come to a final agreement, with their plan almost sounding something like a suicide mission being explained by Kurama. He and Naruto would then go on to perform something akin to nuclear fusion, burning the very essence of their life forces, but this in turn would birth something never before seen, known as Naruto and Kurama's baryon mode. Naruto and Kurama's baryon mode burned with chakra as pure as day, but to Isshiki this made no difference, and Naruto seemed to strike no differently than before. He taunted this new form that seemed to only be doing damage to Naruto, but all of a sudden, Ishiki's nose began to bleed out of nowhere. What Naruto had been doing sneakily thanks to his baryon mode was rapidly aging Isshiki with every strike he landed, speeding up his lifespan and cutting it to only moments now. Panic after Naruto's sly scheme obliterates the remainder of his lifespan, Isshiki overwhelms a weakened Naruto who's on the verge of dying himself as he vows to make him pay for this. This is when an old favor seems to come back to haunt Naruto, as Isshiki notices something very odd within his chakra flow. He notices that Naruto's chakra is also currently linked to someone else at this time, and this was none other than Kawaki, who had been wearing the prosthetic hand linked with Naruto's chakra. In a stroke of unbelievable luck, Isshiki had finally found him. Kawaki was back on his radar, no longer being able to hide, and using his teleportation jutsu, Isshiki summons him to the battlefield with no one left between them now. Boruto chapter 53 delivers an insane shocker at the end as well that I'm sure some of you have already seen trending if you're on things like Twitter or anything like that. So if you guys want to check out the original chapter for yourselves, be sure to hit up sites like Viz or the Shonen Jump app to always support the official releases. If you haven't already, don't forget to turn those notifications on as well to never miss an upload as soon as they go live. And if you've been enjoying all of the anime content recently, consider leaving a like on this video as well. It really helps out a ton, guys. Be sure to follow on both Twitch and Twitter to stay up with me and all anime related content and updates like this. But without further ado, as Kawaki struggles to his feet after being ported to the battlefield by Isshiki, Naruto and Sasuke are stunned, failing after trying so hard to protect him. "Well, hello there, Kawaki," Isshiki says. "We finally meet again." Back at the police station in the Leaf Village, Shikamaru and the others are at a total loss as to how Kawaki just up and disappeared into another black hole again. Could this have been Ishiki's doing? Katsuki stutters. But without the karma, how would he even... I'm not 100% sure, Amato cuts in, but if Isshiki has indeed taken Kawaki to where he is, I can tell you this much. We're out of options. Completely, he continues. We're 100% done for now. Back at the battlefield, this is the first time Kawaki is seeing Isshiki in his true form, as he gets a good look at the man who's been causing him so much pain over these years, and the one who wants to implant him with yet another karma seal. "My, that was a close call," Isshiki says. "I sense I only have about 5 minutes of life left. I can't believe these failures managed to drive me into such a corner." This is when Kawaki recalls to a prior conversation that he had with Amato before being transported here, where Amato assured him that even a monster cannot escape death. "So if we can avoid him implanting you with another karma before his life runs out," he goes on, "we win." "Only 5 minutes, huh?" Kawaki says snarkishly. I'm jumping for joy to get to witness your worthless life ending for good. It's nothing too fancy, Isshiki replies, nothing more than a slightly lengthy nap. And then I'll be resurrected once it's time, with your body, which is about to regain karma, he says, as my new vessel. This is when Naruto shouts for Kawaki to run while he can and get as far away from here as possible while they stall for time, but Isshiki silences Naruto with a brutal stomp to the gut, knocking him straight out of his baryon mode. All of a sudden, Kawaki takes this opportunity to hightail it away from the battlefield, but Isshiki is far too fast and cuts him off instantly, telling him he knows he can't escape. He grabs the helpless Kawaki by the throat, telling him not to struggle anymore as it'll all be over soon, but instantaneously, using his Rinnegan, Sasuke switches places with Kawaki, allowing him another chance to get away. Sasuke orders Kawaki to pick up something that's at his feet where he's appeared and throw it at the ground, and when we see, Sasuke has left Kawaki some sort of smoke bomb to disguise his escape. When Kawaki throws it at the ground, it explodes and leaves the battlefield shrouded in some kind of thick smog, hiding Kawaki's whereabouts as Isshiki tries to use his eyes to track him. Worthless tricks, he says, growing angry with their tactics. He knocks Sasuke out cold with a single punch as well and sends him crushing into the ground. Kawaki takes off again, as a weakened Sasuke can only hope that he can just keep his distance as much as possible, even if only for a few moments, because that's all they need right now. As Kawaki continues to run, Isshiki mocks him, saying that a simple smoke bomb means nothing to the Byakugan. He activates the Byakugan in his other eye in order to track Kawaki's chakra, but as he scans the smoke, he still can't seem to see anything for some reason. You're the fool, Sasuke says as he lays on the ground. It's a mineral dust that obstructs clairvoyant powers. It only lasts a few minutes, but that's all we need right now. Once again, the Konoha Shinobi and Kawaki have outsmarted Isshiki as he grows enraged by being blinded by their smoke bomb. He flies into the air, but after still not being able to scan the area for Kawaki, he lets out a blood-curdling shriek that tears at the ears of everyone around. Kawaki remains hidden amongst the dust cloud as Isshiki continues throwing a fit of rage, telling him that he'll never let him escape. With both Naruto and Sasuke out of commission, they only pray that Kawaki is able to somehow just keep running and stay out of sight as long as he can, no matter what. This is when Isshiki begins to panic and grow impatient as he says that he has no more time to waste here. Very well, Kawaki, he says. If you insist, two can play at this game. He darts back towards the ground, but his next target is none other than a weakened Naruto who has already been incapacitated and lay helpless on the battlefield. He lands crashing into Naruto, who's stuffed into the earth, knocking him out, causing Kawaki's prosthetic arm to fall off as well, stopping him in his tracks. Are you listening, Kawaki? Isshiki says as he stands on Naruto's unconscious body. Show yourself within 20 seconds or else I'll rip his chest open and kill him, he threatens, causing Kawaki to begin to hesitate. Run all you want, Isshiki continues, as long as you don't care that your beloved Hokage will die in the meantime. Kawaki stops in his tracks as he begins to have flashbacks of when he was held captive by Kara and Jigen in particular. Even as their most prized possession for what he was to their organization, Kawaki endured such traumatic abuse that he would give up his life just to not let them have him again, as he clutches the arm that Naruto gave him. The very first kind of symbol of love and care that he'd ever received, really. Only 10 more seconds, Kawaki, Isshiki says as he continues to count down, one by one until Kawaki decides to show himself. This is when Kawaki remembers back to the very first time he met Naruto and the things Naruto said to him, like how he reminded him a lot of himself when he was a kid and how that makes him want to take care of Kawaki like his own. Naruto's impressionability struck deep for Kawaki, as even in his limited amount of time they spent together, Kawaki developed an appreciation and love for the 7th that plays a major role in this arc. Kawaki also thinks back to the time when he asked Naruto to teach him ninjutsu as a way to better defend himself in the future, as Isshiki continues his countdown. From that day forth, Kawaki became the student of the 7th Hokage, and if nothing else, that meant never leaving your friends behind no matter what, as Kawaki shows his resolve and turns around. Isshiki completes his countdown, finally reaching 1, with the promise of killing Naruto if Kawaki doesn't show himself, This is when the young boy reappears atop a cliff, looking down at Isshiki and the rest as Naruto and Sasuke show their shock and really disappointment for how he fell for Isshiki's plan now. As soon as Kawaki shows himself, Isshiki wastes no time and charges towards him, eager to finally stop this game of cat and mouse, but Kawaki has come back for a battle as he jumps into the air and shockingly fires a fireball jutsu at his opponent. While surprising, this jutsu does little more than catch Isshiki off guard as he charges straight through the attack, tackling Kawaki to the ground behind him. Isshiki has finally gotten his hands on Kawaki as he mocks him, asking does he really think he's a ninja now. Lord 7 took me in as his student, Kawaki corrects him. He said I have a knack for it. Well, you can't become a ninja, Isshiki says. In fact, you won't be anything else either, other than a life that'll be snuffed out to become my vessel. He taught me a lot of other things too, Kawaki warns him, smirking. I was empty, but he gave me a reason to live. And to what end, Isshiki says, laughing. Thanks to that right hand he gave you, I found you. And thanks to the affection he gave you, you let yourself be caught. That is reality. You don't understand a thing, Kawaki says, smirking still. A world without Lord 7th has no worth to me. I'd rather be dead. That's what I'm saying, he shouts at Isshiki. Isshiki, growing impatient and with only moments left, lifts Kawaki into the air, telling him none of that matters either way. He'll still just be a vessel. It's at this point where he begins planting the Karma Seal on Kawaki again, as we see the markings begin to appear all over his body. Naruto and Sasuke are still pretty much useless at this point, unfortunately, as they can only really watch on as Kawaki is granted Isshiki's Karma Seal yet again, reverting him back to the form that linked them for so long. Isshiki bursts out with a victorious laughter after completing his mission of assuring his resurrection shortly, telling them that this outcome too is their reality, although they did give him a bit of a scare a few times. Now I can go back to sleep worry-free, he says, but it's at this point that his body slowly begins to crumble as well, as we notice one of his fingers fall off. Looks like my life's finally run out, he says. You were all so close. I'll give you credit for pushing me this far despite being a lesser species though. Kawaki looks on with hatred in his eyes as he watches for Isshiki to continue crumbling before them. All of a sudden, the Karma Seal's markings all over Kawaki's body begin to fade away and disappear somehow, as Isshiki continues to crumble as well. Wait, what? He says? The Karma, why is it? Mind telling us how much longer you can cling to your existence, Kawaki says mockingly. Seconds maybe, Mr. Otsutsuki. Isshiki is livid after being outsmarted again somehow by Kawaki as he grabs him, demanding he tell him what he's done to him, but even his grip is heavily weakened from his body falling apart. Isshiki falls to the ground as he continues to grow weaker as he cries out about how absurd this is. He even implanted him with another karma. This is when another Kawaki, the real one that is, shows himself atop a cliff after coming out of hiding finally. Isshiki has been outsmarted by a shadow clone as Kawaki announces that his shadow clone jutsu was a massive success thanks to the diversion caused by the dust bomb. Even Naruto is extremely impressed with Kawaki's quick thinking and skill as they await Isshiki's final moments before he ultimately does turn to dust. Seems like you want to say something, Kawaki says. Not that it matters though. You're gonna totally die here being outsmarted by a mere vessel. So, whatever it is, he continues, this is your reality. Kawaki leaps from the cliff and lands right on top of Isshiki, crushing the rest of him to dust as they finally, somehow pull off beating the Otsutsuki again, as Kawaki hurries over to Naruto. What a shocker that one was, Naruto admits. A shadow clone of all things? Kawaki admits that it's still a work in progress and he can barely manage to make the one right now, but at least it all worked out in the end. This is when Sasuke rushes over to the Hokage as well to make sure he's alright, but of course Naruto is more concerned about his friend than himself. Sasuke of course knows the truth of what he just saw as he tells Naruto to quit acting clueless. He knows he's talking about that form and power he just used. That energy you expended was anything but normal, Sasuke says. Are you absolutely sure there isn't some serious risk for you using that? Naruto struggles to begin to tell them the half of it as Kawaki wants to know as well, but before he can explain the consequences, Boruto shows up, stabbing Sasuke with a kunai in his Rinnegan eye, shocking and stunning the entire battlefield. Sasuke's most powerful dojutsu powers have been rendered really useless, and with Naruto having expended his very life force, Boruto having been taken over by Momoshiki at one of the worst times ever has come to terrorize them again. "My," Boroshiki says, "I never thought that you would actually defeat Isshiki, but good. Now you're the only nuisances left," he hisses, as the chapter comes to a close, with Boruto's karma completely taking over his body again, allowing Momoshiki to reign over him and devastate his friends, while he remains unconscious.